Welcome, my dear night owls of knowledge. Tonight, as darkness falls and the world sinks into silence, I invite you to embark with me on a journey through time. Nestle into your warm blanket. Let your eyes gently close and allow this voice to guide your mind away from the noise of the modern world. Don't worry about dry facts or rigid timelines. Tonight, we won't be studying history in the usual way. Instead, we will listen to whispers from the past, stories tinged with myth and tragedy, quiet enough to lull you into a peaceful sleep, yet captivating enough to linger in your thoughts until morning light. As someone who has spent a lifetime exploring the hidden corners of the medieval world, I've always been fascinated by the fragments that shaped entire dynasties. We often celebrate the great kings, the heroes who built empires and left behind glorious legacies. But tonight, the spotlight will not shine on them. Instead, we turn to others, kings and rulers whose names are forever linked with terror, madness, or aching misfortune. Have you ever wondered what burdens lie behind the glittering thrones and golden crowns? The Middle Ages were not only knights in armor, crusades, or grand castles. It was a time when absolute power rested in the hands of a single person, and the fate of an entire nation could unravel due to the fragile mind of one king. Tonight, we will explore that haunting intersection between royal power and madness, between personal tragedy and national destiny. We won't tell these stories with drama or horror. Instead, think of them as slow-moving portraits, painted with the gentlest brushstrokes, allowing you to reflect, to ponder, and slowly let yourself unwind. From the shadowy halls of French castles where a king lived in fear of shattering like glass, to the icy palaces of Russia where a czar unleashed unspeakable terror, from kingdoms torn apart by civil war under a weak ruler, to tales of eccentricity so bizarre they feel more like fiction than fact. Each character, each story is a precious fragment, shedding light on the fragile nature of the human mind beneath the weight of a crown. I believe that even in the darkest pages of history, profound lessons await us. We will not judge, only listen. Listen to the echoes of the past, to reminders of the complexity of power, the quiet devastation of illness on the soul, and the indelible marks one individual can leave on an entire era. Let these stories gently carry you into the realm of dreams, where the boundary between reality and imagination, between history and legend, slowly begins to blur. Are you ready? Take a deep breath in, exhale gently, and join me as we begin this journey. Welcome, fellow travelers on this journey through time. Tonight, we begin with the story of a king whose life stands as one of the clearest examples of the cruel burden a crown can become when the mind begins to falter. Let your imagination drift back to 14th century France, a nation weighed down by the horrors of the 100 Years' War, yet still clinging to hope for a brighter future under the rule of a young monarch. Charles VI, crowned in 1380 at the tender age of 11, was welcomed with great affection by his people. They called him Charles the Beloved for his handsome appearance, his noble charm, and his natural kindness. He embodied everything a kingdom might hope for in an ideal king. Youthful, energetic, devoted to grand festivals, and infused with the spirit of chivalry. Many believed he would usher in a golden era, leading France out of war and chaos into light and peace. But fate, as it often does, had crueler plans. In the winter of 1393, a single night would forever change Charles's life, and with it, the fate of his kingdom. It was the infamous Bal des Ardents asterisk, the Ball of the Burning Men, a masquerade held at the royal court. Charles and a group of noblemen chose a dangerously theatrical costume. They disguised themselves as wild men, donning linen outfits soaked in resin or oil, layered with flax fibers to resemble savage forest creatures. Picture the scene: laughter, music, flickering torches, until a careless gesture by Charles's own brother, Louis, Duke of Orléans, turned festivity into nightmare. Holding a lit torch, Louis accidentally set one of the flammable costumes ablaze. In seconds, fire engulfed the dancers, and the room filled with screams and the smell of burning flesh. Charles barely survived, thanks to the quick thinking of the Duchess of Berry, who smothered the flames with her heavy cloak. 4 other nobles died in agony days later. The physical burns could heal, but the psychological scar that night left on Charles was irreparable. In the months following the tragedy, whispers began to echo through the palace. The king has gone mad from the shock. At first, they were only rumors, but soon his behavior became impossible to ignore. Charles would run wild through palace corridors, howling like a wounded animal, or worse, he became convinced his body was made of glass. He lived in constant fear of shattering. He forbade anyone to touch him and demanded cushions and delicate handling by his attendants, terrified of breaking into pieces. He forgot his name, his title, even failed to recognize his wife and children. Once, he claimed to be St. George and demanded the royal coat of arms be changed accordingly. For months, he refused to bathe, change clothes, cut his hair, or trim his nails. Servants spoke with pity and disgust of the once beloved king, now wandering in filthy rags, covered in lice, with matted, greasy hair. That image, a man of absolute power, imprisoned within his own delusions, believing he was made of glass, stands as one of the most profound emotional wounds recorded in history. It is not merely the tragedy of one man, but a haunting reminder of the fragility of power, how the fate of millions can hinge upon the unraveling of a single mind. In rare lucid moments, Charles became quiet, melancholy, heartbroken by his own condition. But such moments grew fewer as his illness deepened. As Charles fell deeper into the abyss of madness, the kingdom around him began to fracture. Rival factions, seeing the king's incapacity, seized the moment to pursue their ambitions, vying for influence and control. His madness left a power vacuum, a leadership crisis that would destabilize the entire realm. Can you feel it? The unbearable weight of a nation placed on the shoulders of a man whose mind had splintered like shards of glass? The chaos, the king's wild cries, the collapse of a dynasty, all blending together into a story that cannot be forgotten. A mournful whisper from the past, heavy enough to linger, tender enough to make us reflect, and soft enough to carry you gently into sleep. We've just listened to the tragic story of Charles VI of France the Glass King who shattered under the weight of the crown. Now, let us cross the English Channel to another kingdom where a similar fate awaited another king, a life that unfolded like a sorrowful symphony of power and fragility. This is the story of Henry VI of England. Like his cousin across the sea, he ascended the throne as a child, only 9 months old in 1422, After the sudden death of his renowned father, Henry V, the famous warrior king. From the moment of his birth, Henry VI was both a symbol of hope and the bearer of an immense burden. He inherited a kingdom at the peak of its power in France, but also a realm brimming with unrest and schemes for regency. Far from being the image of a bold warrior like his father, Henry VI grew into a gentle soul, devout, scholarly, and deeply contemplative. He adored church services, spent countless hours in prayer and reflection, and was an avid reader with a profound respect for learning. His legacy includes the founding of Eton College and King's College, Cambridge, two of England's most prestigious institutions. Can you picture such a king? A kind heart, a pious mind, but placed on the thorny throne of power, surrounded by a court rife with ambition and intrigue. Henry's gentleness won him the love of the people, but it also made him terribly ill-equipped to deal with the brutal realities of political power and factional struggle. As he came of age and assumed full royal duties, he faltered in trying to control the clashing noble houses and bring unity to a divided kingdom. The weight of the crown, the steady loss of territories in France, and the escalating internal tensions, especially between the powerful houses of York and Somerset, pushed Henry's already fragile mind to its limits. He had long shown signs of melancholy and mental instability, but then, in August 1453, came the breaking point. The king suddenly slipped into a catatonic state. He could not speak, did not recognize anyone, and failed to respond to any stimulus. For over a year, he lived as a ghost within his own body, unaware even of the birth of his only son and heir. His attendants tried every method to rouse him, to no avail. England was being ruled by a king trapped within the dark recesses of his mind. Imagine it, a vast kingdom, the fate of millions hanging in the balance, governed by a monarch who existed only in name. A king asleep inside his own soul. This episode, often called the King's Sleep, created a dangerous vacuum of power, and from that void rose one of the most pivotal conflicts in English history, the Wars of the Roses, old grudges between rival branches of the Plantagenet family. The red rose of Lancaster and the white rose of York erupted into all-out war. For the next 3 decades, England was torn apart by civil strife, and the fragile Henry became little more than a pawn passed between rival factions. Each time his illness returned, new battles flared, each side desperate to control the king and, with him, the legitimacy of the throne. The tragedy of Henry VI is not merely that he suffered mental illness, but that he was a good man a gentle soul placed in a role he could never bear. He was a victim of fate, of a violent historical moment, and of the royal bloodline into which he was born. His life serves as a painful reminder that even the kindest hearts can be crushed under the burden of power, and that a nation may pay dearly when its ruler cannot withstand the shadows within. Let the echo of Henry's weakness and the thunder of the Wars of the Roses drift softly into your thoughts until they blend into the flowing current of dreams. We have just visited England and witnessed the tragedy of Henry VI, a gentle but fragile king, crushed by the weight of the crown and the ghosts of illness. Now, let us turn northward to 16th century Scandinavia, where another story of madness and power awaits. This is the story of Eric the 14th of Sweden, a king whose life stands as a testament to how brilliance and intelligence can still be devoured by the shadows of the mind. Eric ascended the throne of Sweden in 1560 after the death of his great father, Gustav I Vasa the founder of the powerful Vasa dynasty. From the very start, Eric XIV embodied all the traits of an ideal Renaissance prince. He was extraordinarily intelligent, highly educated, fluent in 8 languages, a poet, a gifted composer, and a scholar deeply fascinated by astronomy and mathematics. With his tall and athletic build, bright blue eyes, and long curly beard, Eric radiated the aura of a strong ruler, one who promised to usher Sweden into a glorious new era. His coronation was a lavish affair that lasted 3 days and nights, filled with grand banquets, jousting tournaments, and masked balls. It all seemed to herald a golden reign. Yet, even amid the celebratory atmosphere of that magnificent coronation, subtle signs emerged, whispers of the erratic behavior and delusions that would later consume him. His insistence on riding a white horse, a privilege traditionally reserved for the second coming of Christ, raised many eyebrows. And the excessively wild nature of the festivities, with days of drinking and dancing, struck some as crossing the line between celebration and chaos. As he took on the responsibilities of rule, Eric's behavior became increasingly erratic. He grew suspicious of everyone around him, even his own family, seeing threats and conspiracies at every turn. He would erupt into fits of rage over trivial matters, lashing out at courtiers and servants. Rumors spread that he was involved in strange mystical rituals and had fallen under the influence of a frightening Italian mystic named Carollo. But it was Eric's scandalous love life that truly shocked the public. Ignoring the noble marriage alliances proposed by his council, Eric fell deeply in love with a beautiful commoner named Karen Mansdottir, the daughter of a prison guard. Karen entered the palace as a servant, but quickly caught the king's eye, much to the horror of his advisors. In 1567, Eric secretly married Karen, elevating the low-born girl to the position of queen. This act defied all royal protocol and ignited simmering tensions between Eric and the Swedish nobility. While the marriage sparked a major scandal, Karen herself proved to be a steadying presence, remaining fiercely loyal even in the darkest days of Eric's reign. But the controversy surrounding their union only deepened Eric's growing paranoia. He believed that those who criticized Karen, including members of his own family, were plotting to overthrow him. His behavior became increasingly violent and delusional. He would pace the palace halls late into the night, muttering about treachery and betrayal. The climax of Eric's reign came in 1567 with the infamous Stuart murders. Convinced that the powerful Stuart family and their allies were conspiring against him, Eric had several of them arrested and imprisoned. In a fit of uncontrollable rage and paranoia, the king personally stabbed one of the nobles, Nils Stuart during an interrogation. 2 other Stuart lords and several of their associates were later executed under Eric's orders. The Stuart murders shocked the nation and turned public opinion firmly against the increasingly unstable king. Once praised as a Renaissance ideal, Eric was now seen as a dangerous tyrant, a man whose mind was unraveling, capable of turning against friend and foe alike. Whispers of deposition echoed through the halls of power. Can you imagine it? A brilliant mind, an artistic soul, slowly gnawed away by invisible fears, by the whispering voices of paranoia, until he became a monster sowing terror? The tragedy of Eric XIV lies not just in the fall of a dynasty, but in the sorrow of a soul consumed by darkness. As Eric's reign spiraled into chaos, his enemies seized their chance. In 1568, his brother John Duke of Finland, raised an army against him. Abandoned by the court and unable to rally support, Eric was forced to abdicate. In a somber ceremony, he surrendered the crown to John III, his power shattered not by war, but by the shadows within his own mind. Eric spent the rest of his life imprisoned, moved from one castle to another. Despite his captivity, his beloved wife Karen remained by his side, offering what little comfort she could in a life clouded by despair. But Eric's mind continued to deteriorate, sinking ever deeper into madness. He died in 1577, likely poisoned, bringing to an end a deeply tragic life. Eric XIV stands as a haunting reminder that even the most gifted souls can be destroyed from within, and the price may not only be a throne, but an entire legacy. Let the story of Eric XIV, the talented king consumed by delusion, settle in your thoughts like a soft echo, a reminder of the fragile nature of the human mind and the immense burden of royal power. And as this tale fades into the quiet of the night, may it gently lead you into sleep with a calm reflection on the tragedies that shaped history. We've just witnessed how obsession consumed the brilliant soul of Eric XIV of Sweden. Now, let us journey further east, across vast frozen lands, into 16th century Russia, where a single name has become legendary for its cruelty. A name that, even when whispered, still strikes fear. Ivan IV Vasilievich better known as Ivan the Terrible. Ivan's life, like many of the tragic stories we've explored, began with a childhood steeped in turmoil and loss. Born in 1530, he was only 3 when his father died, leaving him Grand Prince of Moscow under the regency of his mother. But even that fragile stability quickly crumbled. At the age of 8, his mother also died, likely poisoned. The young Ivan was left utterly alone, surrounded by ruthless boyars, Russian nobles, all vying for control. Can you picture it? A quiet boy, cautious, his eyes constantly scanning the shadowy halls of the Kremlin. Whispers of plots, both real and imagined, swirled around him like a biting wind. These early years etched a deep sense of suspicion and smoldering resentment into Ivan's soul, emotions that would later explode into unimaginable cruelty. Ivan and his deaf-mute brother, Yuri, were often starved, begging for scraps from palace staff. That harsh childhood left deep scars, nurturing a lifelong distrust of the nobility who had neglected and abused him. And yet, Ivan's early reign gave no sign of the horrors to come. Crowned Tsar at the age of 16, the young monarch poured himself into governing. With the guidance of his beloved wife, Anastasia Romanovna, and his trusted advisor, Alexei Adyshev, Ivan initiated a wave of reforms, revising the legal code, convening Russia's first national assembly, and granting more autonomy to local nobles. On the battlefield, Ivan achieved resounding victories, conquering the Khanate of Kazan and expanding Russian territory. For a brief moment, Russia seemed to have found its own Renaissance man in its Tsar, a patron of the arts and architecture. He commissioned the legendary St. Basil's Cathedral with its vibrant onion domes, a writer, a composer. His court was filled with music and literature, but beneath the brilliance, a shadow was growing. The death of Anastasia in 1560 shattered something within Ivan. Convinced she'd been poisoned by enemies, his simmering paranoia erupted into full-blown madness. He lashed out at those around him, exiling Adyshev and turning against the boyars he had long restrained. In a chilling sign of the terror to come, Ivan had one of his fiercest critics, Prince Andrei Kurbsky, tortured and beheaded in Red Square. It was the beginning of a reign of terror that would earn Ivan his dreadful epithet. By 1565, Ivan's paranoia had reached its peak, evolving into an authoritarian regime. He split Russia into two parts, Zemshchina ruled by the boyars, and Oprichnina under his direct control. Oprichnina was a state within a state, a realm of fear and brutality, enforced by Ivan's fanatical secret police, the Oprichniki. Dressed in black and riding black horses, they appeared like harbingers of death, sweeping across the land like ravens. No one was safe from their wrath. Nobles, clergy, even entire towns became victims of Ivan's ruthless purges. In Novgorod, once a thriving trade city, thousands were tortured and executed on Ivan's orders, their blood staining the Volkhov River. It said Ivan would watch the massacres with pleasure, his eyes gleaming with terrifying delight. Can you feel it? The chill of fear, the madness of a mind consumed by darkness, and the devastating toll it takes on a nation? Ivan the Terrible was not just a cruel ruler. He was an open wound in Russia's soul, a living tragedy of how absolute power can corrupt utterly and transform a man into a monster. And as Ivan's story reaches its end, you may feel the weight of a bloody legacy, a sorrow so deep it might carry you gently into a haunted, restless sleep. We have just left behind the chilling cruelty of Ivan the Terrible, a soul devoured by his own darkness. But the stories of haunted kings do not end there. Now, let us turn our gaze westward, toward Central Europe and the distant Byzantine Empire, where two more emperors lost themselves in the labyrinth of the mind, and whose lives stand as a testament to the fact that even the highest power cannot shield a man from the ghosts within. First, we journey to Rudolph II, Holy Roman Emperor from 1576 to 1612. Born into the powerful Habsburg dynasty, Rudolph was a man of extraordinary intellect and curiosity, with a deep passion for art and science. His court in Prague, modern-day Czech Republic, became a haven for artists, alchemists, astronomers, and philosophers, transforming the city into a vibrant cultural center. He was a grand collector, amassing a vast treasury of rare and curious objects, from ancient relics to bizarre mechanical devices. His palace in Hradčany brimmed with wonders, exotic animals, fossils, astrological instruments, and even what were believed to be genuine unicorn horns. And yet, even as Rudolph cultivated a Renaissance atmosphere of enlightenment, a strange affliction began to take root in his mind. The emperor came to believed that he was made of glass, fragile and easily shattered. He refused to let others touch him and would wear multiple thickly padded layers to protect his delicate, glass body. Can you imagine him moving carefully through his chambers? A spectral figure, ghost-like, as if one of the spirits he sought to summon through his alchemical experiments. Courtiers whispered that they were ordered to speak softly in his presence, lest their voices might cause him to shatter. Rudolph's obsession with the occult and his increasing withdrawal began to take a toll on the empire. He neglected state affairs, letting tensions fester and the royal treasury drain. Eventually, even his own family turned against him. In 1611, his brother Matthias deposed him, leaving the once great emperor of art and wonder to spend his final days in isolation, haunted by phantoms of his own mind. Now let us cross the continent to the glittering heart of the Byzantine Empire where we find another ruler undone by madness, Justin II who reigned from 565 to 578. He began his rule with vigor and ambition, even securing peace with Persia. But over time, Justin's behavior grew increasingly erratic. He would lapse into fits of maniacal laughter and sudden bursts of rage. He claimed to speak directly with the Archangel Gabriel and was often seen having deep conversations with empty air. As his delusions deepened, Justin's governance unraveled. He would appoint and execute officials on whims, making consistent policy impossible. At one point, he became obsessed with the idea of abdicating and handing power to a randomly chosen beggar, believing him to be a holy fool. Justin also became notorious for biting courtiers when displeased, and even attempted to eat one of his own limbs. His behavior became so bizarre that his wife, Empress Sophia had to secretly assume regency to keep the empire from collapsing. Though separated by centuries in geography, the tales of Rudolph and Justin paint a sorrowful portrait of great rulers imprisoned by their own delusions. They remind us that the crown is not always a symbol of unshakable power. Sometimes, it is an invisible cage, one that traps the minds of those who wear it in realms of madness. Let the whispers of shattered glass and unending cries echo softly in your thoughts tonight, guiding you into a deep sleep filled with reflection on the fragility of the human mind. We have just wandered through the labyrinths of the minds of Rudolph II and Justin II, emperors who lost their way within their own illusions. Now, let us turn southwest across Europe to Spain, where an even more tragic tale awaits. The story of Charles II, the last king of the Spanish Habsburgs. His life was not only a personal tragedy, but also a haunting warning about the consequences of one dangerous obsession: the obsession with royal purity of blood. Charles II was born in 1661, the result of generations of inbreeding within the Spanish Habsburg dynasty. This royal house, which once ruled a vast empire, had become trapped in a spiral of consanguineous marriages, uncles marrying nieces, cousins marrying cousins, all to preserve power and wealth within the family. The result was a genetic catastrophe. Charles was born with an astonishing array of physical and mental deformities. Can you imagine a royal child, born with every privilege, but unable to grow up like any other child? Charles suffered from a severely enlarged tongue, making it extremely difficult for him to speak or chew. His lower jaw protruded so far, the infamous Habsburg jaw that he couldn't fully close his mouth. He was weak, his bones were fragile, and he couldn't walk without assistance. Even learning to speak and walk came painfully late. He didn't walk until age 8 and only spoke fluently around age 10. But most tragically, his severe intellectual disability rendered him completely incapable of ruling. He may have worn the crown, but he was a pitiful puppet manipulated by court factions vying for real power. Throughout his reign, Spain was essentially governed by regents and validos, royal favorites with actual control, while Charles remained a sad shadow on the throne. He had a few simple pleasures in life, playing with his collection of pocket watches or watching the court dwarves pretend to duel. But he was also painfully aware of his limitations. Imagine bearing a crown whose weight you do not understand, being used by those around you, and mocked by history for your frailty. It is an unbearable burden. Once, when a French diplomat politely praised the grandeur of the Escorial Palace near Madrid, Charles gave a heartbreaking reply that revealed his own understanding of his tragic fate. This is not a palace for a king. It is a palace for God, inhabited by a poor fool like me. Charles II died in 1700 at the age of 38, without an heir, plunging Europe into a massive crisis. The War of the Spanish Succession. The once mighty Spanish Habsburg dynasty, which had ruled much of the known world, came to a tragic end with him. The autopsy of Charles, though shrouded in legend, painted a grim picture. His body reportedly contained no blood, and his heart was said to be the size of a peppercorn. It was a cruel end to a dynasty that had once been the envy of Europe, now destroyed by its obsession with preserving pure blood. Charles II was not a tyrant. He was not mad in the conventional sense. He was a tragic victim of ancestral pride and folly. His life serves as a chilling warning of what happens when humankind attempts to control nature, when bloodlines are manipulated for power, no matter the cost. The tragedy of Charles II echoes through the centuries like a sigh from a fallen dynasty, a solemn reminder of the boundaries that should never be crossed. Let the echoes of tainted blood and the weight of the crown upon a gentle fool's shoulders lull you to sleep, carrying you into dreams filled with quiet reflections on the fragility of power and fate. We have just witnessed the tragedy of blood and power in the life of Charles II. Now, let us step back in time to 12th and 13th century England, where another king left a lasting mark, not for madness or hereditary misfortune, but for his cruelty, incompetence, and a series of relentless failures. This is the story of King John of England a name that to this day remains a symbol of failure in English history. John, the youngest son of the great Henry II and Eleanor of Aquitaine, one of the most powerful women of the Middle Ages, was never expected to inherit the throne. His older brother, Richard the Lionheart, was a legendary warrior and the symbol of courage and chivalry. But when Richard died suddenly in 1199, John unexpectedly inherited the crown. From the very beginning, he seemed ill-suited for kingship. John had a remarkable talent for making enemies and alienating allies. He was famously cruel and petty. Can you imagine a king with ultimate power in his hands, stooping so low? On one occasion, he ordered the arrest of a particularly troublesome archdeacon and had him crushed to death beneath a heavy weight. Even more disturbing was John's habit of seducing, or more accurately, forcing himself upon the wives and daughters of his barons, a pastime that surely earned him no friends among the nobility. These behaviors created an atmosphere of fear and deep resentment throughout the court and the kingdom. But it was John's bungling of the wars in France that truly cemented his infamy. Through a series of military and diplomatic blunders, he lost nearly all of England's continental territories, including Normandy and Anjou, lands that had been tied to the English crown for generations. It was a devastating blow to England's prestige and royal treasury. He earned the derisive nickname John Lackland, a title dripping with irony and disgrace. Imagine a king who inherited a powerful legacy from his father and brother, only to squander it all through incompetence and indecision. The disappointment and humiliation of a nation, watching its monarch fail again and again on the battlefield, forced to relinquish lands that generations had bled to defend. That is a deep emotional wound, striking at the heart of national pride. Back home, John's brutal attempts to raise taxes and suppress dissent only sowed more chaos. He clashed repeatedly with both the barons and the church. His clumsy efforts to appoint his own archbishop led Pope Innocent III to impose a devastating interdict on England, suspending all religious services across the country. It was a crushing blow to the spiritual life of the people and a severe challenge to royal authority. Tensions came to a head in 1215, when a group of barons rose in armed rebellion against the king. Overwhelmed, John was forced to sign the Magna Carta a charter of liberties that placed limits on royal power. Although he quickly reneged on the agreement, the Magna Carta would later become the foundation of English law and a powerful symbol of the struggle against tyranny. John's tragic fate didn't end there. Determined to reclaim his lost French territories, he launched another military campaign. But while raiding the Loire Valley, he contracted dysentery. The accursed disease, as one contemporary called it, eventually claimed his life. John died in agony, racked by fever and violent illness. It was a shameful end for a king whose reign had brought England to the brink of ruin. King John, a disastrous failure, a petty tyrant, yet it was his very incompetence and mistakes that inadvertently planted the seeds of something great. The birth of the Magna Carta, a document that would shape the course of English history and inspire the ideals of liberty for centuries to come. It is a reminder that even in the darkest chapters of the past, there are glimmers of hope and progress. Let the story of King John, the accidental destroyer who gave rise to freedom, gently settle in your mind as you reflect on the irony of history and the unexpected paths to liberty. And as we drift into sleep, remember, sometimes the worst of times can lead to the most meaningful beginnings. We've just explored the story of King John, a disastrous failure who inadvertently sowed the seeds of liberty. Now, let us cross the distant borders of 15th century Eastern Europe, where the darkness of medieval history takes on its most brutal and terrifying form. This is the tale of Vlad III, Prince of Wallachia *, a name that over time became synonymous with unimaginable horror. Count Vlad more famously known by his chilling moniker, Vlad the Impaler. Born into the nobility of Wallachia, a small principality wedged between the powerful Christian kingdoms of Hungary and Poland, and the ever-expanding Ottoman Empire, Vlad grew up in a world where survival was a relentless struggle. This precarious geographic position demanded a ruler as ruthless as the enemies on his borders. And in Vlad, Wallachia found not only a prince who met that requirement, but one who far surpassed every known boundary of brutality. From an early age, Vlad was no stranger to violence and cruelty. As a young boy, He and his brother Radu were sent as hostages to the Ottoman court, a common practice at the time to ensure the loyalty of vassal states. There, Vlad witnessed firsthand the brutality and bloodshed that were part of Ottoman political life. These experiences, without a doubt, etched a deep fear and terrifying resilience into his mind, forging a hardened soul driven by vengeance. When Vlad finally ascended to the throne of Wallachia in 1456, he was determined to rule with an iron fist. He saw threats everywhere, from the Ottomans, from rival noble families, from anyone who dared challenge his power. And he dealt with these threats through a unique form of cruelty that would make him legendary. Vlad's preferred method of execution was impalement, a slow, excruciating death involving a sharpened stake driven through the victim's body. Can you imagine such a scene? A sharpened wooden spike slowly forced through the victim's rectum, emerging through the mouth or shoulder, leaving them suspended in agony until death. Vlad administered this punishment with horrifying enthusiasm, sometimes impaling hundreds, even thousands at once. His infamous forests of the impaled, littered with rotting corpses, served as gruesome warnings to all who dared oppose him. But Vlad's cruelty wasn't merely a tool for control. It seemed to offer him twisted pleasure. It is said he would dine among the dying, dipping bread into their blood. On one occasion, he reportedly locked a group of beggars in a banquet hall and burned them alive, claiming he was releasing them from their suffering. Even by the savage standards of the era, Vlad's acts were shocking. And this leads us to the emotional crux. What turns a man into such a cold-blooded instrument of death? Was it the trauma of childhood captivity and exposure to unspeakable violence? Or was it a primal instinct awakened by the ruthless demand for survival in a merciless world? The image of those impaled forests is not merely a historical detail. It's a psychological horror, a haunting symbol of the cruelty humans are capable of. Yet, despite his savagery, Vlad was also a cunning and capable ruler. He was a seasoned warrior who won key victories against the Ottomans, and he worked to fortify Wallachia's defenses and centralize power. In a region tormented by foreign invaders and internal strife, Vlad kept Wallachia independent and secure, though the cost was staggering. His bloody reign came to an end in 1476 when he was killed in battle against the Ottomans. His severed head, legend says, was sent to Constantinople as a grisly trophy. But even in death, Vlad's dark legend only grew stronger. In the centuries that followed, he became a figure of folklore and myth, ultimately inspiring Bram Stoker's Dracula and countless other tales of terror. As we let the harrowing tale of Vlad the Impaler fade into the shadows of history, we're invited to reflect on the nature of evil and the thin line between cruelty and necessity. In a time and place where violence was often the only currency of power, Vlad wielded it with a singular brutality that still chills us today. And yet, his story also reminds us of the complex web of circumstance that can forge a tyrant, the harsh realities of a perilous world, the wounds of a violent childhood, and the crushing burdens of rule. Let the ghosts of the past recede into the mist of time, and allow yourself to drift into a sleep far gentler than history's blood-soaked nightmares. Good night, and may your dreams be kinder than the horrors we've whispered tonight. We've just uncovered the haunting story of Vlad the Impaler, a tyrant shaped by the brutal nature of his era and deep personal wounds. But medieval history offers many other tales of kings and emperors whose lives unraveled, not out of deliberate cruelty, but due to obsession, illness, or tragic fate. Tonight, as we sink deeper into the whispers of the past, let us visit a few more of these figures, men whom absolute power could not save from the ghosts within their own souls. Let us begin with Rudolf II Holy Roman Emperor from 1576 to 1612. Born into the illustrious Habsburg dynasty, Rudolf was a man of great intellect and insatiable curiosity. He was so passionate about art and science that he transformed Prague, his capital, into a vibrant cultural hub that attracted all kinds of artists, alchemists, astronomers, and philosophers. He collected rare and unusual objects with fervor, from ancient relics to bizarre mechanical devices, turning his Hradčany palace into a vast private museum brimming with strange and wondrous things. But beneath the exterior of an enlightened Renaissance monarch, a strange affliction had begun to take root in his mind. Rudolf came to Asterisk believe he was made of glass, fragile and easily shattered. Can you imagine an emperor, cloaked in power, tiptoeing cautiously through his own palace, terrified of being touched, afraid that any sudden movement might cause him to break apart? He wore layers of padded clothing to protect his delicate body. His courtiers whispered that they had to speak in hushed tones around him, lest their voices alone cause him to fracture. Rudolf's obsession with the occult sciences and his increasing withdrawal from public life had serious consequences for his empire. He neglected affairs of state, allowing tensions to fester and the royal treasury to run dry. Eventually, his own family intervened. In 1611, Rudolf's brother Matthias deposed him, leaving the once great emperor to live out his final days in isolation, tormented by the ghosts of his own mind. Now crossing the continent to the dazzling heart of the ancient Byzantine Empire, we find another ruler consumed by madness, Justin II, who reigned from 565 to 578. He began his rule with vigor and ambition, but over time, Justin's behavior grew erratic and frightening. He was prone to fits of manic laughter and sudden rages that terrified his court. More disturbingly, he believed he communicated directly with the Archangel Gabriel and was often seen speaking intensely to empty air. He became notorious for biting his courtiers when displeased, and once even attempted to bite off one of his own limbs. As Justin sank deeper into delusion, the machinery of empire ground to a halt. He alternated between appointing and executing officials on whim, making coherent governance impossible. Chaos spread, and foreign enemies took advantage of the empire's weakness. In the end, his wife, Empress Sophia, was forced to secretly assume regency, working behind the scenes to prevent total collapse. Finally, we return to Spain, where a combination of absolute power and genetic tragedy gave rise to a king often called the Bewitched, Charles II, the last Habsburg ruler of Spain. Born in 1661, Charles was the pitiable product of generations of royal inbreeding meant to preserve a pure bloodline. The result was a genetic catastrophe. He was born with a host of severe physical and mental deformities, an abnormally large tongue, a severely protruding lower jaw, fragile bones, and significant intellectual delays. He was not a tyrant, nor a madman in the usual sense. He was a tragic victim of his dynasty. Throughout his reign, Spain was essentially governed by others, while Charles remained a sorrowful figurehead. He was painfully aware of his limitations. Once, when a visiting French diplomat admired the grandeur of the Escorial Palace, Charles responded with heartbreaking insight. "It is not the palace of a king, but of God, and it is inhabited by a poor, foolish creature like me." His death in 1700, without an heir, ended the Habsburg dynasty in Spain and triggered a major European war. The stories of Rudolph, Justin, and Charles II remind us that not all bad kings were tyrants. Sometimes they were lost souls, trapped in the gilded cage of power, tormented by ailments their age could not understand, or crushed beneath the weight of a bloodline they had no choice but to bear. Let these tragic fates gently guide you into sleep as you reflect on the fragility of the human mind and the strange ways in which destiny shapes a life. Together, we have traveled through the haunting corridors of history, listening to the sorrowful whispers of kings destroyed by power, illness, and fate. From Charles VI of France, who believed himself to be made of glass, to Ivan the Terrible and his forests of blood-soaked stakes, from the fragile Henry VI caught in the whirlpool of the Wars of the Roses, to the pitiable Charles II burdened by a corrupted royal bloodline. Each story is a mirror reflecting the fragility of the human mind under the crushing weight of the crown. Now, as our journey draws to a close, it is time to pause and reflect on what we've witnessed. The so-called Middle Ages is often portrayed as an age of darkness, of superstition and violence. But through these stories, we see something deeper, a time when the * line between personal tragedy and national destiny was terrifyingly thin. These kings, no matter how wealthy or powerful, could not escape the illnesses their era could not comprehend, nor the crushing burdens they had no one to share with. Can you feel it? The weight of a crown is not just gold and jewels. It is profound loneliness, constant fear of betrayal, and the pressure of making life and death decisions with no one to bear them alongside you. For those already teetering on the edge of mental instability, the throne becomes a slow-working poison, eating away at reason, turning them into distorted shadows of themselves, and transforming their kingdoms into stages of chaos and sorrow. Yet, even in the darkest chapters of history, there are always flickers of light. We witness the unwavering love and loyalty of * Karen Mansdaughter *, who stood beside the mad Eric XIV, becoming his only source of comfort during his years of captivity. We saw the rare moments of lucidity in * Charles VI as he expressed grief over his condition and was moved by the loyalty of an old knight. Even the heart-wrenching pain of * Ivan the Terrible cradling the body of his son, a fleeting moment when the monster became a father once again. These small, deeply human details strike at the deepest emotional nerve. They remind us that even those condemned by history as the worst are still human. They were complex souls, trapped between their fragile identities and the enormous roles fate had thrust upon them. History is not a black and white book of heroes and villains, but a rich tapestry of infinite shades, where good and evil, wisdom and madness, walk hand in hand. In the 21st century, we view mental illness through a different lens. We understand it as a medical condition requiring care and compassion, not a curse or divine punishment. And yet, these medieval stories still echo with timeless lessons. The pressure of leadership, the isolation at the top, the yearning to find purpose and leave a legacy. These are deeply human experiences that transcend time and station. The legacy of these kings, whether soaked in blood or steeped in tragedy, is an essential part of our historical landscape. They remind us of the importance of empathy and understanding, even toward those in power. They warn us of the dangers of unchecked authority and the need for limits, even on the loftiest thrones. And so, dear listener, as you drift into sleep, let these stories of troubled kings be a gentle reminder of the complexity of the human experience, with all its sorrow, strangeness, and beauty. May you find in their tales not only warnings, but glimmers of shared humanity, the quiet thread that connects us all across time and across the threshold between dreams and waking life. Sleep well, and may you awaken in a world a little kinder, a little wiser, for the journey we've taken through these haunting pages of history. Dear beloved listeners, to all of you who have journeyed with me through the stormy pages of medieval history, where kings bore not only immense power but also profound tragedy. We have witnessed Charles VI believing himself to be made of glass, Ivan the Terrible with his horrifying cruelty, and poor Charles II, trapped in a cruel fate of bloodline. These stories are not merely fragments of history, but deeply reflective mirrors of human nature and timeless lessons for us to ponder. The first and perhaps most important lesson is the fragility of the human mind under the weight of power and life's pressures. The kings we have discussed, though holding the power of life and death over entire kingdoms, were helpless against the ghosts within their own souls. For them, the throne was not always a symbol of absolute strength, but often a gilded cage of loneliness and madness. In our own lives, while none of us rule a kingdom, each of us bears a kind of throne, be it family responsibilities, work stress, or societal expectations. These stories remind us that mental health care is just as vital as physical well-being. Listen to the signals from within. Don't hesitate to seek help when needed. Allow yourself to be vulnerable, because even kings cannot be strong forever. Secondly, we learn the value of understanding and compassion. Throughout these tales, we see that the cruelty or eccentricity of these monarchs often stemmed from fear, deep childhood trauma, or misunderstood illnesses of their time. With modern knowledge, we may easily judge them as terrible. But history teaches us that every behavior has its roots in life, especially in how we view those around us, from family members to friends and coworkers. We should try to put ourselves in their shoes to understand what lies beneath the actions we might find troubling. Compassion * not only builds deeper relationships, but it also helps us view the world through a more humane, forgiving lens. After all, every person is battling their own inner ghosts. The third lesson is about the asterisk value of legacy and life's meaning. These kings, whether remembered for cruelty or sorrow, all left indelible marks. Yet, the most beautiful legacies do not come from absolute power or tyranny. They come from kindness, from listening and understanding, from dedicating oneself to lasting values. Each of us, regardless of age or position, is crafting a legacy of our own. Let that legacy be one of kindness, generosity, and love. Be a lighthouse of wisdom and compassion for future generations. For that is the real crown, one that shines eternally. Finally, these stories remind us of the importance of balance and limits. Power, in any form, when unchecked, can corrupt. In daily life, we must learn to balance control with surrender, ambition with serenity. Remember, no matter how strong we are, we all have limits. Accepting and living in harmony with those limits is the key to finding inner peace, something even the most powerful kings struggle to attain. Dear friends, may these tales from the distant past not just be whispers in your sleep, but seeds of wisdom and compassion, guiding you to reflect deeply on life and to live each moment with peace and understanding. Thank you, dear listeners, for spending your precious time with us on this journey through the haunting and captivating stories of history. Every view, every comment from you is a tremendous source of motivation for us to continue bringing you meaningful and thoughtful content. If you find value in these stories, please consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss upcoming episodes. And don't hesitate to share this video with your loved ones and friends. Because the lessons of the past, especially those about humanity and the mind, deserve to be widely shared. Wishing you a peaceful night and the sweetest dreams.